Hey everyone, before we start, I just want to say if you're listening to this, grab one earbud, switch off the lights, and try to get as comfortable as possible. This video is brought to you by Night Fright, your home for true horror. If you have a terrifying experience of your own, send it in. And if you're new here, don't forget to subscribe, hit the bell, and like the video. Just me and Dad unpacking, flipping through TV channels. But around midnight, we both heard footsteps outside our door slow. Dragging steps like someone was shuffling along the corridor. You're about to hear a series of terrifying real-life hotel horror stories, shared by people who survived nights they will never forget. This story was sent to me by James from Colorado. It was one of those older places with wooden railings, buzzing lights, and barely any cars out front. The clerk looked half asleep but handed us the key to room 204. He took one look and said, "We're leaving." Here's how he tells it. My dad and I were on a road trip through the Rockies. When we stopped for the night at a small roadside hotel, it was quiet at first, a little girl humming, just outside our room. It was late, I was tired, and honestly, I just wanted a bed. The front desk guy barely looked up from his phone when I checked in, arguing a man and a woman, then a loud bang. He gave me a room key and said, "Just don't make any noise." We froze. Then we heard a child's voice. Her dress was pale blue. She wasn't moving, just humming. I looked through the peephole. There was a girl, maybe 6 years old, standing with her back to the door. Nothing. Dead quiet. There was no one at the front desk when I checked out. I still wonder what happened in that room next to mine. And what would have happened if I knocked? Just vanished. We walked down the hallway, calling out, but the place was dead silent. But my daddy's a tough guy, and even he won't talk about that night, whispered to Dad. But when I turned off the lights, I thought I saw something move inside the reflection. A figure standing still behind me. Didn't even ask for a refund. In the morning, I asked the front desk if the mirror was new. As we opened the door, she was gone. After a long day, I got back to my room and noticed something strange. A large mirror on the wall facing the bed. It looked out of place. When we reached the front desk, we asked the clerk if a family with a little girl had checked in. He blinked like he didn't understand the question. "No kids here tonight," he said. "Hasn't been in weeks." We packed up and left. Right before they shut, I saw someone step into the light from the hallway, a woman in an old-fashioned dress. Her eyes locked with mine, but her face, it wasn't right. A person standing in the reflection right behind me. "I don't care how nice the breakfast is. I'm never staying there again." I told the front desk, but they insisted the third floor was closed for renovations. One morning, I got into the elevator and hit the L4 lobby. "No one should be down there," they said. Let me know in the comments. And remember, never ignore your instincts when checking in somewhere new. I still don't know if we saw a ghost or if it was some freaky prank. Which of the stories in this video scared you the most? This next story was sent to me by Eric from Georgia. I was traveling alone through Atlanta, and I found a cheap motel off the highway. I pushed it open and stepped out into the parking lot. I found that weird, but I was too exhausted to care. The room was damp and smelled like old cigarettes. As I lay down, I started hearing voices through the wall. I sat up in bed, heart racing. I pressed my ear to the wall. I pressed the button for the 4th floor, but the elevator stopped on 3 instead. The doors opened to a pitch-black hallway. I grabbed my phone and called the front desk. "Did you hear that?" I asked. He replied calmly, "Just stay in your room." I asked if he was going to call the police. He said again, "Just stay in your room. Don't get involved." I didn't sleep that night. At dawn, I packed up and left. This story was sent to me by Brian from Illinois. I was at a hotel in Chicago for a work conference. First, I didn't think much of it. I spun around, nothing there. I turned the lights on. The mirror looked normal again. But when I turned them off, it was back. I slept with the lights on that night. The guy looked confused. "What mirror?" I took him to my room. The mirror was gone. It's just an empty wall. I checked out early. The story was sent to me by Daniel from Nevada. I stepped into the hotel elevator late one night after grabbing food. I didn't see anyone, but I heard faint whispering. The doors started closing, and I hit the close button fast. I pressed every button, panicking. When I reached my floor, I sprinted to my room. I took the stairs for the rest of my stay. This story was sent to me by Jason from Oregon. I was in a hotel for a weekend event, staying on the 6th floor. The elevator opened, not to the lobby. It was a hallway I didn't recognize. Lights were dim, the carpet damp, and there was no one around. I stepped out, confused. I looked back, and the elevator door closed. There was no call button, no stairs, no sound. I started walking. The hallway just kept going. After what felt like 10 minutes, I finally found an emergency exit. I turned back to see where I'd come from. There was no door, just a brick wall. I never stayed in that hotel again, and I never will. This next story was sent to me by Eric from Georgia. I was driving alone through Atlanta late at night, just trying to make it to the next city, and I couldn't keep my eyes open anymore, so I pulled off the highway and found the first motel that had a vacancy sign. He looked like he'd been sitting there for hours, maybe days. He handed me a key without even checking my ID. Then, he said something that made my skin crawl a little. He told me, "Just don't make any noise tonight." The voices were coming from the other side of the wall. I couldn't make out what they were saying, but the tone was aggressive, angry. It was cheap. The kind of place with flickering lights, faded signs, and paint peeling off the walls. But at that point, I just needed a bed, somewhere to close my eyes for a few hours. When I walked into the lobby, the front desk guy barely glanced up from his phone, then clearer. I kind of laughed, thinking he was joking, but he didn't smile. He just went right back to scrolling his phone like I wasn't even there. "Are you going to call the cops or something?" The room was worse than I expected. Damp smelled like stale cigarettes and mildew, but Agani was too tired to care. I tossed my bag down, kicked off my shoes, and collapsed onto the bed. That's when I started hearing voices. Muffled at first, it sounded like a man and a woman, arguing. Then, suddenly a loud bang. He just said, "Just stay in your room." Just an empty chair, and that same silence from the night before, and what might have happened if I'd knocked. It didn't sound like something falling. It sounded like a gunshot. Sharp, close. I shot up in bed, wide awake, heart pounding in my chest. I pressed my ear to the wall. Nothing. Just silence. I grabbed my phone and called the front desk. I asked, "Did you hear that? Something's going on next door." Wide awake. Every creak in the walls made my heart jump. I didn't hear anything else from the room next door. No movement, no voices, nothing. The guy didn't even sound surprised. I paused. He repeated, "Just stay in your room. Don't get involved." That was it. No questions. No concern. No panic. Just ... that. I sat there all night. At sunrise, I packed my things and got out. When I passed the front desk, the guy was gone. No one there. I still wondered what happened in that room, or if I hadn't followed his advice. Don't get involved. This story was sent to me by Brian from Illinois. I had flown into Chicago for a 3-day work conference and was staying at one of those high-rise business hotels downtown, polished lobby. Keycard elevators, the usual, nothing weird, at least not until my second night. As I was tossing my backpack on the chair, something about the room felt ... off. Then I noticed the mirror. I got back to my room after a long day of meetings, completely exhausted. I swear it hadn't been there the night before. It looked older than the rest of the furnishings too, like antique style with this tarnished silver frame. I figured maybe I just hadn't noticed it earlier. I was tired, didn't think too much of it. It was huge, almost floor to ceiling, and hung directly across from the bed. I showered, turned off the lights, and got into bed. That's when it started. But the longer I stared at the ceiling, the more I felt like I wasn't alone in the room. At first I thought it was my eyes adjusting in the dark. So I turned my head, looked straight at the mirror. There was something in the reflection, shape, a figure standing behind me near the foot of the bed. My blood went cold. I whipped around. Nothing. I turned on the lamp, got up, checked the room. Closet, bathroom, completely empty. I sat back down, heart pounding, told myself it was stress. A trick of the light. I turned the lamp off again. That was when it got worse. This time I didn't even have to look directly at it. I could feel it, something watching me from inside that glass. And when I finally looked, there it was again. "Sir, we don't put mirrors on that wall at all. It's a shared plumbing wall. Can't even hang anything heavy there. Same figure, but closer." "That mirror," I said. "In room 1203, It's kind of ... strange. Yeah. Closer than before. I hadn't imagined it. I know what I saw. I know what I felt. Told my boss I got food poisoning. Swear my chest was shaking. There's no mirror in that room, he said. It wasn't moving. Didn't have a face I could describe, but I felt like it was looking right at me. I grabbed a blanket and slept with the lights on. In the morning, I went down to the front desk, asked if they'd recently added new or switched rooms. The guy at the desk gave me this blank look. I asked if maybe housekeeping moved it. He shook his head. I demanded he come up and see it for himself. He agreed, followed me to the elevator, and we went up. When we stepped into the room, there was no mirror, just a bare beige wall, no hook marks, no dust outlines. Nothing. I stood there for a long moment trying to make sense of it. I packed my bag and checked out early. Honestly, I just couldn't stay in that room one more night. I've been back to Chicago since, but not that hotel. Definitely not that floor. This story was sent to me by Olivia from Massachusetts. I was on a solo trip to New England. I checked into this quaint little historic in just outside Salem. The place looked like it belonged in a postcard, white columns, candlelit windows, creaky wooden floors. It felt charming at first, till night came. My room had a canopy bed, lace curtains, and antique furniture. It smelled faintly of lavender and dust. I unpacked, took a shower, and got into bed. Around 2 a.m., I woke up freezing. The window was wide open even though I was sure I'd shut it tight before sleeping. That's when I heard it. A knock. Not on the door, on the inside of the wardrobe. It came again. Slower, heavier, like someone tapping from inside. Just darkness. I just stared at it, frozen. Then the door creaked open, just an inch. I couldn't see anything inside. I got up, heart pounding, and rushed to the wardrobe. I yanked it open, empty. But the inside smelled different. It's not like the rest of the room. It smelled like something rotten, damp, and old. Like a cellar that had been sealed for years. I don't care how historic a place is, when something knocks from inside the furniture, I'm done. I closed it and shoved a chair in front of it, then sat on the bed with every light on until sunrise. When I told the front desk lady about it the next morning, she didn't even look surprised. She just said that room has its history. Needless to say, I checked out immediately. This last story was sent to me by Marcus from Texas. The room was dim with yellow lighting and a bed that sagged in the middle. I was driving cross country and got caught in a bad storm in rural Oklahoma. Lightning, hail, the works. I found the first hotel I could, a little brick building with flickering neon and peeling paint. Looked sketchy, but I didn't have much choice. I got a key to room 7. The hallway smelled like mold. When the sun came up, I went back to the front desk and asked if anyone had ever reported weird stuff in room 7. I fell asleep fast. But in the middle of the night, I woke up gasping because I felt someone sitting on the bed. He doesn't usually bother travelers. You must have looked like someone he knew, like actual weight, right next to my legs. I just got in my car and left that place behind. I didn't move, just kept my eyes shut, trying to convince myself I was dreaming. Then I felt breathing. Slow, raspy breathing. Right next to my ear. I opened my eyes and looked. No one was there. But the mattress was still indented, like someone had just gotten up. I sat in my car the rest of the night, soaking wet from the rain. The woman behind the counter gave me a long look, then just said I didn't ask any more questions.